We have now quite some experience using these 2D primitives. We have used many times line, point, ellipse and rect, but we haven't checked out yet these curve functions. And I like especially this Bezier curve. I hope I'm not pronouncing it totally wrong. Bezier is a French engineer who created these formulas for creating these beautiful curves. And we are going to be using this function here, Bezier. It takes a different amount of parameters. It depends if we are working in 2D or 3D. For now, we are going to work on 2D. In this case, it takes 4 pairs of coordinates, or 4 different points. The line will start at this point here, x1, y1, and it will end at this other point, x2, y2. And then in the middle, there are 2 more points which modify the shape of the curve. You can use a search engine and try to find interactive Bezier. You will find many different pages. We can try one of them, for example this one here, which is using processing.js. And if we scroll down a little bit here, we can find this tool where we can get a feeling of how this works. This here, this point which I'm moving right now, is the start point. And this is the end point. And you can see these other 2 points modify the shape of the curve. When all 4 points are aligned, then you will get a straight line. But the interesting thing is that you can modify these points here and change the shape of the curve. If these 2 control points are very near the start and end point, then they will have very little influence. You can see it's only changing the line a little bit. But the farther apart the point is, the greater the influence. Same thing here. If I drag the point very far away, then it's changing this curve. And you can do some pretty interesting things using these curves. Imagine we have this start point and end point very close to each other. Depending on how you modify these control points, you can almost draw a circle. Of course, it's not a perfect circle. Or you can make a line that crosses itself. Or you can make pretty wild shapes. You should spend some time moving these points around to get a feeling of how they are affecting the final shape. Most vector drawing programs like Freehand or CorelDRAW or Inkscape, they all usually have some kind of drawing tool which is based in these curves. So for our programs, we are going to have to define 4 different points and then we will get this shape here. Let's try it out. So I'm going to type here Bezier. We could start somewhere like at the top left corner. Let's first change the size of the screen, size 500, 400. I'm going to start at the top left corner. The control point is going to be at the right top corner, so width 0. Then the second control point, I'm going to locate this at width height. I'm going to show you what I'm doing on a drawing so you get a better idea. So if this is our screen, I'm going to start the line here. I'm going to end the line here. And I'm going to put the control points on the other corners. So we should get some kind of shape that goes like this. So I have the first point, top left. This is width 0, so it's this point here. Then we have width height, this point. And finally, we need one more point at 0, height, which is this point here. And let's run the program and see what do we get. Okay, so that's our first Bezier curve. We could deactivate the fill. I can say here no fill. Let's set a better background. We'll make it white. And I'm gonna activate the smooth mode so the line looks better. Great. Now that we have drawn our first Bezier curve, let's make another program that draws on our screen. And I'm going to try, and I will draw lines that start at the bottom. The first control point will be somewhere right above the first point, the start point. So I will choose randomly one of these points. And then I will set a random control point. The second control point will be just somewhere random on the screen. And I will do the same with the end point. So it can be anywhere. And if I do this many times, maybe if I draw 20 or 30 lines, this might look like some kind of strange tree. We may have many lines that do something like that. So let's try that. I'm going to add now here a for loop. So for int I is 0, while I is less than 30. Let's draw 30 lines, then increase I. Right now, we would be drawing the same exact line 30 times, and we don't want that. Let's change these numbers here. We said we're gonna start at the middle of the screen. So this first point is on the bottom middle. That's width divided by 2 and height. Okay, so we have the first point. What about the first control point? We said also the first control point will be somewhere directly above this first point. So we know that the horizontal position is going to be exactly the same. You can see here width divided by 2 in both cases. And now let's pick up here a random vertical position. So random height. So it's any position between the top and the bottom middle of the screen. And we said that the 2 remaining points are going to be just somewhere random on the screen. So I can type here random width, here's random height, then again random width and random height. I can split this line in parts so you can read it better. The spaces don't really affect. There we have our Bezier curve with these 4 points. And let's run the program and see what kind of wow, that's a wild tree. I don't know if it's exactly a tree, but it's something definitely interesting. So that's a quick introduction to the Bezier curves.